Welcome. I'm Danielle Sally.
And I'm Eva Fusa.
And you're listening to Ghost Boss, stories about the freelance afterlife. Hey, ghosties.
Hey.
How are you doing today, Eva?
I'm finally good. The last 4 episodes, I've grunted into this microphone.
I tell you what, I text you and I've been the one Aries raging today. Yes. And you're like, oh, I'm actually in a good mood for once.
I'm in a great mood. Yes. And part of that is because...
Why?
We have a guest here.
Our first guest.
My friend Meena.
Hi, everybody.
Yay, we did it. Hello, Meena.
Hello.
I'm thrilled to finally meet you because Eva has talked about you on at least 20 episodes.
Yes, lots. And most of it's your glasses. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll let you introduce yourself first. But yes.
Yes. I'm super thrilled to be here. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. My name is Meena Khalili, and I'm an associate professor of design and interaction at the University of South Carolina, but I also run a design studio called Curiosity HQ.
Awesome.
Yay. And you have an Instagram account.
I do. I have a couple.
Yes.
I have mine. It's Meena Khalili, spelled exactly how you think it's spelled.
Oh, naturally. Yeah,
of course.
Just try. Yeah, you're going to do great.
Have fun. And then the Drawn Daily, which is where I do daily drawings, and sometimes I post them, but that's part of my creative process at my studio.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting through our sound check. It's much shorter than it normally is.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
We did, and we brought some new equipment. So I'd say we're doing pretty good.
We did. We once had a 53-minute soundtrack.
Yes.
We're doing great.
It was fun.
We're doing great.
This took for posterity, this took 10 minutes?
Yeah.
So actually not even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So there we go.
We're doing great.
Well done.
Excellent.
Yes. Well done.
And you had said something during a sound check that I want the listeners to know, but you have done many podcasts.
I have, and yet this is my first one with all women.
Yay!
I think what I said during the sound check was this was my first time with
women.
With 2 ladies.
Yes. With all girls.
However we want to put it. But yeah, I've realized most of my podcasts have been male dominated. Mm-hmm. There is one now that I'm remembering called Creatives Ignite with Diane Gibbs, and that she was actually the first podcast that ever hosted me.
Oh, awesome.
So God forbid I forget her. She's like an incredible woman. Diane Gibbs, again, she's incredible. But this is the first time I've ever been on set, or behind the mic with 2 other women doing this. So I'm very excited. 2 other creatives.
I know.
That are women.
Yay! I know. We're all...
World domination.
We are. We are.
Who run the world?
We'll get into creatives and our zodiac signs too. I promised that we would talk a little bit about that. So first off, I'm very excited to have you. Thank you for being on. But one of my favorite things is in past episodes, I've talked a lot about the idea of a capital D designer. And it's what we all thought we were going to be when we graduated from college. And I have this vision in my head, and it's always somebody with cool glasses.
Always.
And so when I was like, Meena's going to be on, all of your headshots look so cool, and you're wearing glasses today. So thank you for fulfilling capital D designer vibes.
Thank you.
On the Ghost Boss podcast, because Danielle has perfect vision.
Right.
What?
It's weird.
Right.
Well,
I know.
Yeah, but that's because Danielle's 26. Right?
Oh, bless you. Yeah. Bless you. I'm not near 40 at all.
No.
Near 40.
I love it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to become, hold on, let's see if I can get it right, an associate professor of design and interaction? I got very close.
You got real close.
At the University of South Carolina. That part I got at the School of Visual Art and Design.
That's right. I'm at the School of Visual Art and Design. Thank you very much for making sure you noted that.
Let me go.
How'd you
get here? How did you arrive here right now in this moment?
How many hours of time do you have for this? We're not working on tape, so at least
so we're doing great. Yeah, as long as my hard drive keeps up, we're doing awesome.
How many gigs of space do you have? How did I get here? Well, it was a long journey, ladies. So I went through undergrad and I went through my master's. So I have an MFA in design, visual communication, and I got that from VCU in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, we were there. We spoke there in March.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Oh, that's right, for the Addies, or for
AAF.
Yes. And listen, I spent 16 years of my life in Richmond, Virginia. Was on the team that worked on the RVA logo. Like, that place just has such a chunk of my soul that like I will always consider it home. But it was not it's not where the story, like basically I go to Richmond and then I come here. I actually hopped around in a few different places, right? So, I met my husband, and he happened to be living in Nashville and I was in Richmond. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm kind of done with Richmond. I've been here for 16 years. I should probably see what else is out there. And so I moved to Nashville. I got a job at Middle Tennessee State University. And I worked there for just a brief moment before a position at University of Louisville opened up. And then I applied for that. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it. And my husband is actually from Louisville, Kentucky. So go Cardinals. And so we made the move to Louisville and we lived there very happily with his family. I mean, just living in Louisville, it was like, it was just like a perfect situation. I mean, it was like everything that you would imagine out of a Disney movie. It was like Sleeping Beauty singing and bluebirds chirping. You know, they were hanging up my laundry. It was great.
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
I wish.
It really was perfect. And then, a lot of things happened. We lost my husband's mother in an accident. My husband and I decided to try the family thing and we got pregnant. Yay. And he had a 4-hour commute and life was just not going to work with a 4-hour commute and an infant. So
that sounds rough.
We'd lost his mother. So the help for that situation was less there than we thought when we'd hoped it would be. And so we started looking around again for positions, and a position came open here at University of South Carolina. I went out for a few other positions and got all of the offers and decided to come here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that's how we made it here. My husband and I but we work on the same team. We work together.
How's that?
Yeah, how's that go?
It's different.
Yeah.
You know my favorite part about it?
What?
When we moved here and we started figuring out what the schedule was going to be like, my colleagues immediately said, okay, you'll work Monday, Wednesday, and you'll work Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh, they want to split you up?
Wow.
So we don't even see each other.
Do you not?
It's great.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing.
It's perfect.
It's great.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and it's also great because again, you have this moment where your place of work understands immediately that you have a child, right? There is a family to consider here. So without even asking, without any hesitation, they're just like, okay, well, obviously if they get sick, you need to be there. So one of you will work
Somebody
on the
will
other
do it,
day.
right.
Like, obviously. We didn't even have to say this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was an onboarding moment. There was no better onboarding moment than that. That was that was the height of it. The rest, not so great. Yeah.
I love it.
Do you teach the same students? Do you teach the same courses?
We do get to teach a lot of the same students. So his name is Brent. So Brent's. I
just threw your hand back.
Oh, by the way,
his name is Brent. It's fine. He has a name.
Yeah. Usually I call him my partner. I don't know why I started calling him my husband. So I wanted to be consistent. But
anyways, we can just give him a name. The government knows him by
Brent. So he teaches painting and drawing and illustration. I mean, he is a fine artist with a capital F.
See, you're going to start using it. I'm a capital F freelancer. I'm a capital D designer. Pick it up. It's cool.
Well, you know what? I'll go ahead and say it because I just got the contract today. But I have a couple of co-authors. There's going to be a book.
Are you a capital A author?
At the same time.
Apparently.
I got goosebumps.
Very excited about this. But in the initial conversations that we had, myself and these two other co-authors, we were talking about design with a capital D and design with a lowercase d.
Yeah.
We were talking about like soft design and like, I don't know, hard design. What that looks like is probably the most consumer driven design, right? Client driven, versus like things that are, you're sort of exploring and you're thinking about like different ideas that could help your client, maybe things that they didn't expect.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So we talk about that.
Like aesthetic design versus like functional design almost. Or I think exploratory versus functional I like better.
And divergent thinking.
Yeah. things I haven't talked about in a long time because I've been out here just making LinkedIn ads.
just actually making money. Yes. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I had a student once ask me, they were like, what do you do if you're just not intrinsically tied to the project? And I was like, wow. And I was on a panel on a stage when she asked me that. And I was like, I'm not intrinsically tied to 85% of my work.
Most things.
I was like, I was not called.
I would love to be
to make LinkedIn ads, not hating on them. They pay my bills. But like, it was just, I was like, oh, sweet baby angel. I get it. We all got here on this one path, like whatever brought us to design that we really loved. But like, you got to that's the difference between being a professional and it just being like a passion. And those are two different things.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay if those two things don't have to intersect. Mm-hmm. I love this idea that we have to, that if we find the thing that we love, we never work a day in our life. All right.
Cool.
Cute. That's what you do.
Love that for you.
Yeah. I also think it's a recipe to hate the thing you love.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point.
You're doing it day in and day out, and now it's starting to become a grind, and you're like, man, why did I say that I was in love with this idea of teaching? Or why did I say that I was in love with this idea of typography and lettering? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've known people that they're so good at cooks. It's like, why cooking? Why did you want to be a chef? And they flat out said, I don't want to be a chef because I don't want to hate cooking.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense. Right. So we're all going to hate design. No.
But we love other people's design.
But we love other people's design.
We don't stop loving it.
No.
Well, and I think you pull out and craft out like your own thing. Like something I've been doing the last year is reconnecting with not even design, but like parts of art that I haven't done in a long time because I got so drilled down. And look, it's capitalism's fault. I have bills to pay. And so I just got so like focused on like commercial design and cranking out the work, which is fine. Yeah. That I like lost the connection that brought me here to begin with, but I have a transition with that.
Oh, hey, let's hear it.
So it made me think of my origin story. So what's your origin story to becoming a creative?
Oh gosh. I think, well, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Let me answer your question.
Okay.
So my mom, every origin story is going to start with like, you know, the people that raised you, right? Yeah, I mean, or at least the circumstances you were in when you were growing up.
Sure.
My mom worked on Capitol Hill for 42 years.
Oh, wow.
For the Speaker of the House. And so whomever was sitting Speaker in her bipartisan office, she worked for. Mm-hmm. And what she did was put together a book of all the bills that got passed in a congressional year. And she would sit there on snow days, because we had those in Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all have all the seasons up there.
Yes, we do.
We have two.
Yeah, I know. And one of them lasts for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So she would sit there on snow days. And I remember her like watching, you know, soap operas in the middle of the day. If I was off of school, she still had to get her work done. So she would sit there and she would have her bottle of wheat paste, her X-Acto blades.
There you go.
Yeah, right. The printed bills that had been put through Congress, and she was cutting them up and then pasting them in this book that would then get photocopied and she was using like essentially like this is 1980s technology.
Hey, but that is how we did things before we had InDesign and Photoshop.
Absolutely. Yes. It was a paste up.
Yes.
My mom was using a paste up.
A literal, that's what the paste button does now.
Yes. And a mimeograph. And she was using all of that to recreate the book the bills into a book.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never gave a second thought to this. I was just always like, ooh, blades, you know? Like I was always just trying to
sharp things. Yeah. Gimme.
Play around and get in trouble and all of that stuff. And then my dad, he was an entrepreneur. Or rather a restaurateur, I should say. He ran barbecue restaurants outside of DC in Virginia, so like in Falls Church and Gunston, all these areas, Lorton, and he's also an immigrant from Iran, and he had these pork barbecue restaurants. And if you know anything about Islam, that doesn't jive.
Right. I'm putting two and two together, but I was letting you, I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, hold on, but continue.
Yes. So, okay. So like, here's my mom doing the thing with blades for the government. here's my dad.
Your Muslim dad.
Yeah, and he wasn't practicing anymore.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing. So he comes over to America, and he became a naturalized citizen in October of 1991. And I remember being at the naturalization ceremony. And I'll tell you, if there's anything that would make you love our country, like if you need to love our country, a lot of us do right now. If you need to love, get thee to thine most immediate naturalization ceremony, because it is such a display of courage and of sacrifice and of real pride. And so anyway, I got to see my dad take those vows. And so my dad's an entrepreneur. He's doing all this business stuff, and he's doing the thing he loves. My mom's doing this thing for the government. And I have an older brother, and he was really into drawing. Now, I wanted to do everything my older brother did. And I wanted to do it better than him.
There we go. Okay.
Right.
There it is. I was like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. And I do. And
Perfect.
Just kidding. Sorry, Ramin. So anyhow, so I would watch him draw on like the backs of, the placemats they'd put down, at restaurants.
Yeah.
We'd be at one of my dad's restaurants, and he would be drawing on the back of the placemats. And I'd be like, okay, how are you doing that? Show me how you're doing that. And he would be drawing a profile of a face, and then he would be like, no, your eye is too close to the bridge of the nose, bring it back.
Oh, wow.
Things like that. And I think maybe I was like 5 or 6 or 7.
Sure.
And so I learned how to draw by watching my brother fail. No, just kidding. Watching my brother draw. And then, it all just sort of, it all just sort of went from there. My brother dropped drawing. He became a basketball dude, soccer player.
A basketball dude.
Yeah, very much. Zach Morris, like my brother, like just think of Zach Morris, but version. So that's my brother.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, he's super. So like I all of that sort of gave way, and I don't really remember ever having or doing formal art anything. I mean, this was not also something that was on the table for me as a kid, or as somebody who was going into college. But I remember being 15, and I was taking an international marketing class, and it was very specific. It was international fashion marketing class, and we had to develop a storyboard of a commercial for Nordstrom, and we had to use specific fashion items. And I remember that was the best project I ever had in my life.
That's how you knew.
That's how I knew. I was like, oh my gosh, panels. Oh my gosh, music according to panels and imagery. I've got this.
Right.
And I blew it out of the water. I mean, that was the moment when I was 15 that I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, but I didn't know what it was called.
Right. We talked in a previous episode about our origin stories, and we didn't know what we were supposed to be majoring in or where to even start with that kind of stuff. So,
So you knew then early with the storyboards that is something that you enjoy doing. So throughout your entire career, how has your approach to art design kind of evolved during that time? Like since you first discovered that you love it to now, how do you feel like it's evolved?
Well, first off, I learned what it was called, right?
What is this?
What is this thing I love?
What is this thing where you mix images and words?
Yeah. And then you make it into things.
Yeah. And then sometimes it can move.
Yes.
So what is this magical thing? Because that was the thing, is that I really only knew that I liked it when those two things were together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because I imagined, or I already knew making images was a thing, but I never really saw myself as a fine artist. And then I went and got my BFA.
Look at you. Look at you. You got a BFA and an MFA.
So, there was a time where I thought that all I was supposed to be doing was making pictures. Note, I said a couple of things there. Let's unpack. I said making pictures, but I also said supposed to. There is this thing that I don't know if it's a woman thing or if it's a Southern thing or if it's a kid of an immigrant. I don't know. It might just be me. It might be all of us. But there is this pressure to fit into a box. Pretty sure it's a universal pressure to fit into a box. And when we talk about wanting to be creatives, oftentimes we feel like we have to defend it.
Yes.
And we have to defend it because it is not something that is acceptable from the serious.
It's not a real degree. I've been told that so many times.
I've known people who their parents told them they can't go in this direction. Correct. So they've had to do something else. And it's like, well, why did they discourage you? This is a real career.
Well, let me just tell you, I meet a lot of those students.
Sure.
And they come to me and they say, I wish I had known design was a thing.
Yes.
Because it is digital design is in the U.S. Jobs and Labor Report, guys. If you want to know, generally speaking, let me drop some knowledge. Generally speaking, your normal rate of growth for any job is 3%, according to the U.S. Labor and Job Statistics report. The rate of growth for a digital designer is 16%.
I'm sure.
Over the course of the next 8 years, so to 2032. So when I meet these students and they say something to me like this, I'm like, listen, here's what you're going to take back to your parents.
Have to go and you just have to help educate people that came from a different generation or they came from a different,
for sure.
Or just any generation in the U.S.
Or they come from a different. So my dad is a silent gen. So he was born in 41. Not an immigrant, but a man of color. And he was an engineer. And I'm the first person in my family to go to college. It would have been a hard pitch to say, I want to go to SCAD. It was a much easier pitch to be like, I'm going to go to USC and get a journalism degree. Yes. I'm going to concentrate in VisCom. They don't know what that is, right? But that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not an art degree. And my dad was an artist, but still, like, it's about like, what can you make money at?
Let's talk about that. I mean, I want to make sure I answer this. So we need to circle back.
It's okay. We don't answer our stuff all the time.
Most of the time, we don't answer our own questions.
Yes, it's fine. It's fine. We're doing great.
I'm like trying to check off boxes.
I told you we aren't going to do most. I was like, I will write you questions.
Here's a list of questions we might talk about.
We won't get to them.
I love it. Well, I do want to make sure to mention this thing because this is important. Like, the way that I have changed the how I view design or how I practice design it's really evolved based on I'd say either human-centered design, user experience, and human-computer interaction. Those three buzz terms
Look at you.
have really been the thing that, I mean, and it's not because of the buzz terms. It's rather I found myself in this space more than any other. I used to make work on paper and it only lived in one place. Now I make work on paper and I find a way to bridge it to become an animation over your phone. And there's some sort of augmented reality component to it. Or I use artificial intelligence in some way to ramp up my my creative process. But the way that I view design now and how I come to the process of it has changed exponentially. And I think it's because I'm an educator and I've had to stay on top of technology.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you find a designer who doesn't constantly have to re-certify what they know.
I have to teach myself stuff every day. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But
is it?
It's fine.
You said that too many times.
The third time made me question if you meant it.
But I feel like our industry is just a moving target in the way that lots of industries move and change and evolve, but like the way that I'm always having to like go figure out a new skill set. Right? Or teach myself. She does way more UX than I do. So she's always having to like teach herself new programs. I mean, I have to do that a little bit too.
I share this story a lot. I don't think I've shared it on the podcast before, but there's always this debate between like Adobe XD and Figma and which one to do.
Well,
and
you're the only one I know on XD.
Well, okay. No, there's many. And I have some clients that specifically ask for XD. And I'm so mad because I had picked XD way back when and now yes. See, admit it on the mic so I hear it.
Same.
Yes, because it's part of Adobe. Well, and Adobe loves turning their back on UX design. I get so sorry, Adobe. You can sponsor us later. But I get so frustrated. So now I made this goal, 2025. I'm fully trying to get away from XD and move on to Figma.
So when XD came out, it was released as Project Comet.
Yeah.
And I was at
Here we go.
I was at the Adobe the AIGA conference wherein they were talking about the beta of XD, and they were talking about it, and it was the guys who developed it.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because it was in a room kind of like this. Like it was
a
not
little
a
podcast studio.
it was maybe twice this big, but it was like this. It was not a main stage. It was just like, okay, we're doing this thing right now. It's in beta. It's called Comet. We don't know what it's going to be. And I remember talking about XD before it was XD and being like, this is the next thing. You guys have to get
it
on
had
this.
so much potential.
And then they went into the attempted deal with Figma, and that fell through.
Yeah, and then they just have not supported it since then.
Do love Figma. I really do. And all of my students learn Figma.
Yeah.
That's the one they learn. And in fact, they've been learning Figma for the past, 4 years
I love
in
that.
my class.
Love hearing that.
And what I love telling you is that many of my students go into their internships and they wind up teaching the team how to use Figma.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
They're out there schlepping the knowledge.
Yes,
Look at that.
good. They
Look
should
at that.
be.
Yeah.
It is hard though. It's hard when, especially, so I came from agency world, and so we're just used to working at this fast pace. So it's very, very hard when we have to suddenly switch tools.
No, yeah.
There's no time to
Oh my
learn
gosh. That's
new
why I'm
tools.
mad at your XC files, because I don't know any of the key commands because they're different than InDesign.
Don't bother learning it because you have to learn Figma.
I'm not learning. Well, no, I shouldn't say I'm not. If somebody gives me a
Cut that
project,
out.
I'll do
I know
anything.
you will.
You'll
Yeah.
get hired.
No, I got to dice up some of this anyways.
Just come sit in my class one day. You're fine.
You'll learn it.
I'll figure it out. I mean, I taught myself audition, not even for this. So I edit the podcast now.
Yeah.
You gave me really great files to work with, but I had to teach myself stuff in audition like a year ago.
Yeah.
See, okay, guys, we can learn anything. You know why?
Yes.
Because we remember before the internet.
Oh, yeah.
That's why.
Oh, I can
fair.
Google my way out of anything because I now have Google.
Yeah.
Because when I learned all these programs, the first time I opened Photoshop was 1998. There was no tutorials. And
I'm
then
pretty
there was
sure
no
I downloaded it on LimeWire.
that's what I'm saying. I had it. I was in high school, and then I go to college and I get all these classes where they don't teach me how to do a program. They taught me all the fundamental stuff. They taught me typography. They taught me, color theory, layout, but nobody ever showed me how to open a file. Nobody ever.
Or to print. Oh man. Yeah, that's the other discrepancy I see a lot where like the students, they come to us and they are already digital.
Yeah.
I mean,
now they know how to, they've already got,
But, I've been teaching long enough now that I remember when they weren't, right? And I do remember that. Printing is like you say, print something and some people will look at you like you have 3 heads. It's like, how do I do this? And so talking to learners about type size and that 72 points is 1 inch, but counterforms change the way that we see types. So we might have to be 72 points, but it might actually look more like 36 points.
Right.
All of this stuff, it doesn't matter on digital, but it matters on print.
Right.
That's the only place this matters.
Right.
So like my first semester freshman course, we have to print a lot because we have to get
you have
used
to learn, understand what that means.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and two, like I've been a lot of people's first managers, like right out of school. And I love that so many people can teach themselves so much now. That's great. But somebody, maybe you, I don't know. Somebody's got to teach some of these people how to make files where people can work after them.
Yes.
Should I say that nicer? Because I think this is important.
I think that works.
Okay, that was fine.
No, that's how you say it.
Because this is
handoff.
Yeah, because like literally, and like it's not even a print thing. If you're doing an annual report or like any layout project, even if it's going to be digital, you're probably going to do it in InDesign, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the love of all that's holy, please do it in InDesign. Do not do it in Illustrator and embed all of your images, or then like you're out sick one day, which is fine, or you took a vacation. Love that. And now I have to open your files and nothing's linked.
No, I remember my first job. I opened a fellow designer's. It was like a 40-page book, something like that.
Right.
It was done in Photoshop.
Oh God.
I was right out of college and I was like, this is wrong.
Right. Just raise your hand. This is wrong.
This is wrong, sir. Please don't do this ever again.
But there's
so
just,
true.
there's just not consistency in that. And I had a manager finally, I think she was my second manager, who came from an agency, who outlined stuff like, this is how you're going to name files. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. So I started handing that to my new hires like on day one.
Yeah. Naming conventions.
Yeah. Naming conventions. Collect all your stuff, please.
Yeah.
Let's put it away.
Yes. And make sure to name your layers. And I mean,
oh my God. Yes. Woo!
Name your layers. Name your layers, kids.
And don't outline your text in Illustrator unless you're prepared for it to be an object. My friend, she was also a new designer. We were about the same age and she got a job somewhere and she was like, this whole brochure is in InDesign. The whole brochure is in Illustrator, and they outlined all the copy.
No.
They outlined 30 pages of copy.
All right, ghosties. This conversation was so good. We're going to end this week's episode here and come back week 2 with part 2 of our interview with Meena.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Remember to follow us on Instagram at Ghost Boss Podcast. And also please like and review us on your favorite podcast app.